What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 269 of Opinions May Vary. Nice. I am your host, JR. I have my co-host with me, Alex.
Hello.
Joining us this week is, if there's ever an Opinions May Vary Hall of Fame, you know who would be like the what's the word for like first, like, you know, the first class, the first inductee,
the veteran.
Yeah, the honorary member, like the first of the first. It's Mr. Brett Kelley.
Oh,
Brett Kelley, goddammit.
That's right.
Brett Kelley and his magnificent beard.
Alumni. That's what I was trying to come up with.
Well, like,
Yeah.
if I can't think of the word for like first or primary or like
Initial?
inaugural.
Oh.
There it is.
Yeah.
Is it? Is that the word? I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyways,
Brett.
Brett's here, and normally when Brett's here, we talk about really anything. I can't even say, like, when Brett's on, we talk about this, because it's just anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this one's going to be a little expected, I guess.
Yeah.
We've been talking it up.
It's the annual.
It's annual. We've been hyping it up for a couple weeks now,
Mm-hmm.
and it finally happened, and now we're here to talk about it, because it was fun. But
Yeah.
we're going to get our Steampunk on today, as the Steampunk World's Fair was this past weekend. The 2017 Steampunk World's Fair, the Fire Within. I can't remember what
Fires
it was
of
called.
Inspiration.
Fires of Inspiration is the title. It was our fifth time attending. Fifth. Aside from New York Comic Con, that is the most we've attended something, at least as a group.
Nice.
Yeah.
Or no, Boston. Yeah, we've done Boston a lot more than that.
Yeah.
How about Kineticon?
Kineticon this year will be our fifth as well.
Huh.
Yep. But Boston we've done every year since 2010. So we've done a little more, and then New York has just kind of been everywhere since 2009. But anyways,
If you've been watching any of our social media, we posted some on Facebook. I was trying to keep up on the Instagram and show a couple things that were happening. So you could practically see it as it was going on.
yeah, we were actually pretty good almost at social media this weekend, because normally I get so caught up in just doing stuff
Yeah.
that I'm like, oh man, I should have posted on Twitter or whatever about that. But
Story of my life, man.
there's just a lot to show at World's Fair, and there's just a lot to get caught up in. It's very easy to just lose the day.
Mm-hmm.
But we went down to Jersey for a yearly trek, and we saw some stuff, and now we're going to talk about it.
Yes, in true
I guess
correspondent
away
fashion.
we go. Yeah, exactly. As correspondence, that's what I consider myself.
That's what I say.
So year 5,
Yeah. Numero cinco.
I got a little nervous. Little nervous.
Yeah.
Because it's the first time we've gone. Like initially, my hype for World's Fair back in 2013. Yeah.
20, yeah.
That's because we went in 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah. 2013 was like, oh man, Steam Power Giraffe's going to be there. They never come to the East Coast because they're not like an enormous band,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and they live on the West Coast. It's not easy to travel coast to coast, especially when you have a lot of people.
They haven't done like a world tour yet.
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
Yeah. At the time of that year, that was the furthest east they had gotten. I think
Yeah.
at that point.
It was a big deal, and evidenced by the lines to meet them and the lines to get into the show, and the fact that they packed the main stage tent and all that. You know, it was because I was nervous going into that show too. I was like, oh man, I hope they'd like draw a crowd, because it would be a bummer if like 5 people come out to watch them.
Yeah.
When you find that one thing on the internet, and like, it's got a bunch of views, but you're not sure how many people know about it.
Yep.
Until you realize, like, oh, people do know about this,
Yep.
and they're going to travel to experience it.
Yeah.
So going in, this is the first year that we've gone to the show that Steam Power Draft has not been there. So I was nervous that the draw wasn't going to be there, because like we'd always seen, there's the Steam Power Draft fans came out in force
Yep.
past couple of years. You'll always see them in the makeup, you see them dressed up as the characters and such and such.
And if you believe everything you read on the internet, there were a lot of people that were sad that Steam Powered Giraffe were not reprising. So, when something changes, you always have the people that are sad that it changes. So you don't know exactly what to. For me, I didn't know exactly what to expect heading in. Likewise, but
yeah. So initially, I was like, man, I wonder if the draw is going to be there. I wonder what the attendance is going to be like, especially getting there on Friday when it was just downpour all day.
Yeah.
Well, so at the same time, there's the reverse effect.
Right.
because there's been past years when Emperor Norton's hasn't been there. And people were like, can we get some Emperor Norton's, please? Can we get Emperor Norton's Stationary Marching Band like back? Like, why are they not here?
Right.
And so, like, to have them returning also as like a guest of honor kind of grouping, like, that should have been enough to like fill the gap, I want to say. Because, like, it's not going to be the same internet crowd, but it's going to be the same, like, you know, I'm glad I get to see these again.
Right.
You know,
they are a staple without, you know, they have been for many years. So you know, when you have that thing that is always like the most fun thing, arguably at an event, and then it goes away, you just feel that. I mean, we've discussed it in wrap ups in the past where it's like, like, you know, Emperor Norton's wasn't there, and man, it felt like something missing. And I think likewise we were afraid that was going to be the case with going in this year with the absence of the giraffe of Steam Power.
And on Friday, like, our whole ride down, because we got there, we left a little late on Friday. Like, we, instead of trying to beat the traffic, we waited until traffic was gone for the most part. And we were able to avoid it again for the most part. But the whole ride down, just downpour. We'd have like 3 minutes of
clearness and
of levity, and then just downpour.
Yeah. Your visibility would go from 20 to 30 inches.
Yeah,
at
exactly.
best.
Which it did kind of cause some confusing for setting up.
Yeah.
Because they're, you know, any tents in the midway, the stage, you know, preferred to have been set up by then.
Yeah.
But once we got there, like, there are some that were set up, some that were still, you know, building and constructing their area that they're either going to vent from or do work from or whatever.
Yep.
And even some also that just kind of like threw in the towel and like, well, I guess I'm going inside. Just give me a room somewhere. You know, just give me something else to go vent from.
Yeah.
So like if there was a map or anything, and you gotta adapt.
Yeah, the first worrying thing when we were driving down is that, of course, we had a couple people that had already touched down the night prior that were kind of giving us heads up as we were driving down.
Yeah,
and David specifically was just like, "Yeah, so the current status is monsoon," and I was like, "Oh boy!" And then they were like, "It can't be that bad," and then we drove through it. And we were like, "Okay, well, there we go."
Especially when, you know, probably over half the event takes place outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's tough. So we roll up on Friday, and it was definitely slower than usual, and like it had an odd feel because, like, going to the courtyard, like there was like maybe one or two tents, if that. You know, like it had a very, because like people had moved inside because it was it was raining all day.
Yeah,
there was only one setting up.
Yeah,
and I think on Saturday there was only 2 vendor tents out there.
Yeah. So like a lot of people had, you know, resigned to being indoors. You know, the map got moved around a little bit, and it had me a little nervous on Friday because it was slow. You know, like it was just kind of, you know, the mood reflected the weather, I guess, for lack of a, you know, better way of putting it.
No, I think that's a perfect way of putting it for sure.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, you know, you have the diehards that were there that are like, we're going to be here, we're going to party, but I mean, it's, you know, you can only do so much.
Like, I love rolling up to that show. I love, like, I do dig the venues.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know if they're going to be moving or anything like that in the future, but I dig the 2 venues. I've really come to really appreciate them for what they are, I guess.
Totally.
Each hotel has like stuff that I really like about it.
Mm-hmm.
Personality, I would say, between the 2 for sure.
But I love the initial, we are here, let's just look at everything. You know, it's, we're going to walk the halls, we're going to okay, we saw this, now let's go check out this. Let's go see our old friend, the embassy, you know?
Yeah. How you been, buddy?
Let's see what, yeah,
Still a building? Awesome.
Let's see what's going on there. Done with your construction?
But with it being kind of slow, that also gives you, you know, that rare chance to interact more.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that, you know, I always try to, you know, say and encourage is just talking to people. Either because it's a pretty friendly event. You could usually chat with other attendees and guests and, you know, people in costume, and everyone's usually willing to talk about their costuming.
Mm-hmm.
But also, the rooms aren't going to be packed. You know, like the vendors aren't going to be too busy just yet. Like,
True.
You know, if it's a slow day, you know, you have some time to mingle. So that's like when you can walk up and Mark Donnelly will put a can in your hand. He'll just walk up and say, "Here, hold this," and then he'll leave. What do I?
And you hold it because
wave or scream if you need me.
you just do.
As you have to like resist reaching for your wallet now and just feeding money to the guy.
Yep.
And but at the same time, you have this chance to talk to people about how they do stuff because we had Michelle Greenwood on a couple weeks ago, and she physically makes all of her own pieces.
Yes.
She does all her own art, and like it's a chance to take those in, and you have time to really peruse and look and get a good eye for it. And then if you want, talk to the person who's making it because they're right there. The same goes for a few other vendors we're going to talk about, but
totally.
That's some of the nice parts. And and sometimes it's nice, like being a smaller audience to enjoy your favorite musicians.
It really is. And then you don't have to worry about like human bumper cars as much.
Yeah, you're not crowding
in the hallways and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of shows on Friday, did we catch anything? I don't recall watching anything on Friday.
I'm checking.
Because we rolled up mid-afternoon-ish. We actually turned in, for World's Fair, we turned in kind of early.
Yep. I think that was probably my fault as well.
Early is in like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock-ish. We headed back to the hotel, which is, again, for World's Fair, that is very early.
Yes.
We took in some Ascadelia at 7.
Mm-hmm.
She was doing her silk show, her aerials, which like they had, her structure set up and her. I wonder when she hooks up the silk.
It's a good question.
Because she took it down at night too.
She does.
How do they reach it? I've never seen him do it.
Do you drop it first and then take it? Because like there's legs.
I don't want to spoil.
Oh, do you just tip it over?
Well, you might just disassemble it a little bit, maybe.
I don't want to spoil the surprise, you guys. I don't want to ruin the illusion.
Do you know what it is, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just pretend
that's all right.
Sorry.
It through some sort of magic.
Yes.
Some alchemy.
Well, it was good. Yeah. Well, as Ascadelia, I'm actually really glad that she made it because she had run into she was having a bit of a rough time, and nobody was really sure if she was going to, but thankfully she was able to persevere and she showed up. And
yeah, a lot of members of the community came together and made sure that she was able to get there.
Yeah, and she brought her crew, and she had she had a bunch of people that were with her at Glimmer Dark, and they were very entertaining as always. Super fun people. And it actually is really funny is that I saw them when they were in and out of costume, and when they were out of costume, it was the first time that they had spoken to me in like I'd ever heard. Like I actually got to hear their voices. Like, hey, it's really good. We won't be able to talk later, but like it's good to like. I was like, oh, that's fine. You'll be busy. No, like we were going to be in character where we cannot talk. So I was like, respect, like awesome. Okay. You guys are my favorites now.
Yeah, but you get to watch, someone do some aerial stuff on the hanging silks and doing tricks and drops and flips. It's really fun to watch. It's a nice element that's different from other stuff of the show.
Totally.
And if you've never seen it before, it's still fun to watch. And then somehow she like hangs out and walks around all barefoot on the cold, wet grass, and I have no idea how she does it because I'm a wimp.
Yucky feet.
Arguably the most impressive feet.
Uncomfortable feet.
Also at that time, the VIP Goblin Market was going on.
Right.
Yes.
Which we took a brief picture of the confusing set list.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be posted in the photo album once I get that up.
There was a listing of who would be there and who would be performing.
Yep.
Then there was times next to them, but they weren't listed in order.
It was not chronologically listed, yeah.
And
it was kind of chronologically, but like... it was weird.
So the layout was misleading.
The band playing at the top was like 9 p.m.
And
then like 3 lines down was the band playing at 6:30.
Yeah.
And then under that was the band playing at 8:30. And then 2 more down was the band playing at 7:45. And it's...
Let's see here. So the first thing listed... Friday night, enter the Goblin Market. See and hear. 11 p.m. Eagle Likeness. 9:45 The Long Lost. 8:30 Carnival. 7:15 Valentine Wolf. 6 p.m. Jessa Lantern. Burlesque all night. 12 a.m. Cybertron Dance Party. So it just kind of skips around a little bit. But it's still the Goblin Market's fun. They had kind of changed up the embassy stage a little bit. Normally it's just like there's a stage. and some chairs, and you sit and you watch the stage. But they had like set up like nice tables at like the round tables, you know, like and put chairs around
like for
it.
a little cocktail hour. Kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah. It had
And
a
I
cool
saw
feel.
some food there too. Like,
Yeah, there was some
normally
catering.
that doesn't happen
For sure.
But there was some.
and all. Sorry.
I was just gonna say there was some performances, and Mark P. Donnelly was there with Canes and Abel because they brought the booth inside because of wind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I kind of like. I know we were hanging around for a little bit, but I did kind of pop in every once in a while. Like I know we saw Valentina Wolf for a bit.
Well, I wanted to get to that because looking at the schedule, I wanted to check out whoever Gesso Lantern was.
Yeah,
and I was like, "Who's Gesso Lantern? That seems neat."
It's good.
And she wasn't there.
Yeah.
I didn't see her that night.
Nor I.
And while her set was supposed to be happening, is when Valentine Wolf was setting up.
I regret not dragging you guys to the Long Lost because, like I talked about him at Glimmerdark, the review last year.
I think I saw like 2 minutes of one of their sets. Or no,
Right.
I overheard them from a distance.
Yes,
One of the glories of the main stage is you can catch stuff even though you're not near it because the main stage is big and loud.
Yeah.
So
very true.
I think they were on my list to try and catch at some point, but it didn't work out.
Yeah, it's that just gives
the
another
tough
proof.
part about
Welcome
making
to Jeff
lists,
Mock events because there's so much.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
tough part about making lists, especially for a Jeff Mock event, is typically in order to see something new, you have to sacrifice missing something that you love,
Yeah.
that you already know and love.
Yeah,
you know?
yep.
So it's
It happens more frequently
it's
than
tough.
not.
And like, you know, I could go see this new band that I've never heard of and fall in love with something like that. that arguably could be what happened with Egress. Like, hey, Egress is playing, but
Right.
Friendship Monk's also playing. Let's go catch Frenchie. You know, like it's. And then ultimately, like, I finally eventually got to see like Egress, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I have a new favorite band, rad.
Which isn't a small feat, but we'll get to them later.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, you know what? Speak of them, if we're sticking to Friday, they had a set that we caught around 7:30.
That's true. We did see them on Friday.
Yes,
Because they were on the midway. That was also like a nice, like, you know, the stage hasn't washed away in the downpour or anything. It was it was dry enough to, you know, to run cables and do work and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Which was anyone on before them? I don't think so.
If there was, I do not recall.
We did last year. This year, we'll give props to Circa 6, who was like the stage managing techs and running the lightboard, soundboard, and all the complicated stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I was watching some guy with a tablet in his hands, and you didn't know I was paying attention to this dude.
I think you might. Yeah,
There was a dude like in the crowd, and he wouldn't really be like at the soundboard, but he'd like be in the crowd.
Yeah.
And then I'd see him like kind of like go behind the stage, and then I'd see him like back up.
Yep.
And he'd be staring at this tablet, and like I creeped. I like creeped behind, like look, what is he doing? And essentially, there was all these like slides.
Oh yeah. It was a control panel almost. Yeah.
Right. But then he would swipe, and it would be a new set of slides. So it would be like 6 to a screen.
Oh wow.
And he's like watching the show, and he's moving a slide. And he's watching. Then he swipes, and he swiped like 3-4 times, and there were slides on every single,
awesome.
every time. I'm like, what is he even doing?
He's
like,
Tony Starking
with
it.
that one machine. Then he'd walk up and like arrange a cable on the stage or something, come back, and I'm like, I want to know what's in his head right now, like what's going on. But it was neat how, you know, amongst all the stuff, like they're perfecting their craft and they're making sure that a good show is happening.
Totally. I like their shirt this year. It was Circuit 6, but it was in the Netflix.
Oh really?
The Netflix font.
Oh yeah.
I was like, hey, I like that.
They do outstanding work.
Circuit 6 and chill. No.
When we caught the beginning of that Egress show, there was about 70 people, and by the end there was more like 130.
Yeah,
and that was for a Friday night with other.
They
stuff
filled it pretty
still
well,
going
and then
on.
after them was Prospect, I believe.
Yes.
That wasn't the next day.
Nope, that was
on Friday.
Yeah, that was on Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I don't have my schedule with me because I'm awful. But I believe because afterwards, like I remember said they were setting up, and like everyone who had watched Egress just
you're right.
bailed.
At 9 o'clock, 9 p.m.
You know,
Yeah.
including us, because at that point it was time for Jeremy to get food.
We checked in with
all of us. Yeah.
Is that when we checked? No, we saw Scott do Saturday show. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, Friday was very very relaxed. It wasn't a whole lot of running around. We need to catch this. We need to catch this. Let's go. Like, let's just check out. Let's walk the vendor halls. Let's, say hello to friends. The settling. Now I'm getting really nostalgic, and I miss it a lot.
Yeah. That's when I placed an order with Matt Etcha.
Was that on Friday?
Yeah. Well, that's when I first placed the order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I had saw that she said she'll take commissions during the show, and I was like, really? I forgot she does that, because she uses the Dremel tool and she etches into glass bottles and shot glasses and whatever reclaimed glass she could find, and makes really just beautiful art. It's gorgeous. I've liked it for years. Still like it. We talked about her on past episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, Mother's Day is only a week away. So I walked up and I was like, I want a commission. She's like, all right, what do you want? I was like, I don't know, what do you got? And I forgot, like, am I supposed to bring something? But she had some supplies there. And she's like, you want a shot glass? And I'm like, no. And she says, you want like a beer stein, like a big glass, like beer mug thing?
Yeah, a stein, yeah. And
I wasn't sure if they're specifically, if that's a type.
No, it is. It is. I mean,
a big mug. Old mug.
Yeah, big mug thing. And she goes, do you want one of these? And I go, it's for Mom.
So the shot glass.
That was my best explanation. And so she had like a really nice blue bottle, and I was like, Lighthouse. And she started sketching it out, which normally she freehands everything. And I feel like she was sketching just to give me a peace of mind of like what she was going to make.
She's a pro.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, she doesn't need to sketch anything. She just freehands and again, like we talked about Michelle Greenwood doing her pyrography, you can't erase it.
Yeah.
Once you do it, it's there forever. You can't like put glass back into it.
Gotta commit.
But yeah, I placed an order and
I had fun conversation with her. That was like when I'm leaving forward, but like the conversation I had with Matt Etcha was very enjoyable. It was probably the most extensive I've spoken with her in ever.
You talked with her without me?
Oh, no, I was. Okay. You were there. We were just talking about boozy stuff, absinthe and stuff.
Oh, cool. Oh yeah. She had did she have a set there first?
Yeah, she had a couple items that were designed because she had a couple items that she had designed Thujone leaves, wormwood leaves. She had etched wormwood leaves on a couple things.
Yeah.
For the absinthe.
One was the brown glass, right?
Yeah, and of course, once she said, "Oh, this is for absinthe," I was like, "Okay, we're gonna have to talk," and it was lovely. So
we spotted a glass that she had done with like a kraken attacking a ship.
Yeah,
so there was tentacles coming up, and the ship was like in distress. And it was there Friday night, and then it was no longer there Saturday.
It was gone the next day.
So it goes to show, if you're at a show and you see something that you really like,
pull the trigger.
You buy it now because someone else is going to get it.
Yep.
Last year it was...
Speak from experience.
Last year was Tentacle Box. This year it was Kraken bottle. Yep. I have regrets.
Did you want a Kraken bottle too?
An octopus monocle.
I did want Kraken bottle. Yep, I really did.
An octopus monocle? Yeah. No.
I mean, if you put a monocle on an octopus, I will pretty much always want to buy it.
Yeah.
Especially if that octopus is also doing like put up your Duke stance.
Love it. Fisticuffs.
Love it.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of them. One of the vendor rooms had a lot of embroidered patterns on messenger bags and pillows.
Right.
One of the pillows was an octopus with a monocle.
Yep.
And a top hat. And like a little baggie. I think it had a teacup maybe.
Nice.
And it was a good price too.
It was fair.
If I didn't have an inherent hatred is a strong word. If I didn't so disagree with putting useless pillows on couches, I would have gotten this pillow to put on my couch.
I am 100% with you because there's nothing worse to me than like, oh yeah, go you go to a friend's house. Hey, take a seat on the couch, make yourself comfortable, and there's literally no space to sit because it's all pillows. It's all decorative pillows. It's like, where do I put these pillows? I don't feel like I should sit on them. So do I move them and then put them on my lap?
They're too nice.
Or do I sit at the edge of the couch?
Or do you move them on top of the couch so that way you kind of make like a little pillow Jenga for some reason? Then you kind of hope not to shake the couch enough.
Because feet go on the floor, and I don't want to get the pillows where feet are.
Yeah, I feel you.
Ex-girlfriend had a couch. ton of pillows.
Yeah.
Could seat one person. Was a couch. And I would joke with her parents, and I was like, well, there's only enough room for 2 people to sit. She's like, on the couch. I was like, that is a seat. It's a seat. If it's one person, it's not a couch. Anyway.
We're going deep.
Octopus monocle.
Yeah.
We just got very real
That pillow.
about decorative pillows
true.
for a second.
That same vendor, I still have one of their prints of the steampunk.
That was from Wicked Fair.
The 3 Fates.
Yep, it was.
Was it?
Mhm.
It was.
I'm picturing you buying it in my head right now.
But like I saw it for at least 2 years before that.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Because there was
You
a
jumped
bigger,
on it.
There was a bigger version, and then they had the singles of each fate. It's basically like if you imagine the 3 fates from I believe Greek mythology, but like in a steampunk manner. And one's like constructing the string, and one's like measuring the string.
Oh, that's cool.
And then there's the old lady who's cutting the string.
Sweet.
And then I make friends tell me which one I like best. You're like, oh, it's the middle one because she's the cute redhead. I was like, no, it's the old lady because she has the power. She's the one doing the cutting. That is your life that she has in her hands. That's why she's important. Anyway, so
Good to know.
Friday night, yeah,
Medic is cool.
she's great.
Wanted to bring that background.
Yeah, she's super cool.
Yeah.
So Friday was chill day, I guess, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Turned in early.
Oh, we finally got to catch Hubris.
We did. We caught Hubris.
Hubris. They spell it with a V, but they pronounce it Hubris.
Yep.
Hubris. And they do the fire show. Usually, we skip the fire show, not because we don't want to see it, but because they already have a crowd, and they're not like in an elevated area. So if you're in the 3rd row, you can't see anything.
Yeah.
So we just leave.
Yeah. That's true.
We'll see like a fire like go over everyone's heads, and but with a smaller crowd at this time of day and this, considering the weather,
And it was super cold, so it was a great way to warm up. That's for sure.
yeah, we had to see them do some of the fire show, which I hadn't seen them do this exact show before.
Yeah.
I haven't seen whips in person.
Right.
I've seen a lot of tricks. I've seen many different kinds of poi, different kinds of batons, hoops, darts, but I haven't seen whips in person before.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. And then the guy that was Hobbit and the Apostle were the 2 guys that we saw doing it.
Yep.
There was more to the group, but they were coming later. And with all the fire spitting that I've seen, the Apostle did okay.
Yeah.
He might have been kind of wet and slippery. He dropped the baton once or twice, but he pulled off some moves that I haven't ever seen before.
Yeah.
And so, I dig that. I
No,
respect
definitely
that.
respect for. Because it was. At the middle of the show, especially when that was happening. It was It was misting and it was definitely getting a little damp out there.
Yeah.
So they did.
Considering
great
it's the one thing that
the
works
weather.
against them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I gotta give credit where credit's due.
Totally.
It would be very easy to just be like, nah, we're not gonna go on tonight. It's
But
too wet.
if I added up how many my logged hours of watching fire spinning at Firefly events and whatnot, to say he pulled off stuff that I haven't seen before
It's true.
is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I cheated because on Saturday when we were watching This Way to the Egress and stuff, Hubris was also performing with their entire full cast.
Yeah.
And you could see them through the pool
through a
windows.
set of windows.
So they're like, yeah, they're going. Wow, that's a lot. Wow, that is nothing but fire over there.
Those
That is
flames.
amazing.
But again, it's like, do we leave watching Norton's and Egress to go watch, or do you go?
I'm content with our decision,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's still neat to see people do stuff with fire that I can't do and would never ever attempt because
Totally.
I would burn everything.
Yeah.
The
I
flesh.
can't. I don't think I can.
It's danger.
So yeah, we caught some hubris, saw some fire. Did we do anything after that? I feel like I keep saying we turned in early, but you guys keep coming up with stuff.
When Hubris was performing,
Yeah.
they had a soundtrack running. Was one of the tracks Professor Elemental?
It was Professor Elemental
Okay.
steam powered. Yep.
I thought so.
It's one of my favorite
I was like, that
songs.
sounds familiar.
I would. Yeah. If I ever hear that song and I'm able to, I will breakdance to it very enthusiastically.
Professor Elemental is a skinny British guy who wears an adventurer's outfit and raps.
As you do.
Yeah. Pretty well known. His some of his more popular videos get a couple million views, stuff like that. He normally shows up at Wild Wild West Con in Arizona.
Right.
Arizona? Nevada. The
It's
West.
out there.
Yeah, in the West. Almost California.
I was able to say someone that I was going to put on my fighting trousers one time, and they knew what I was talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Saturday?
Anything else happen Friday? Let's go to Saturday.
I slept
day of
really well
days.
Friday. I don't know why, but like I slept like the best I'd slept in a couple weeks. I wanted that noted. Good sleep.
It's essential because Saturday is a long-ass day.
Yeah, actually, I'm already gonna back this up. I actually got to do my artsy thing too on Friday.
That's right.
Right.
We skipped over that. Oh my god.
No, it's fine. We talked because
That's like the first thing we did.
That was one of the reasons we had a deadline to get there, and
Yeah.
like, this is one of the reasons why we mentioned Michelle Greenwood, and she was giving a salon, a workshop, teaching some anatomy for illustration, and Brett was the posing model.
Yeah, she messaged me about a couple weeks out from the thing, and she was like, "Hey, like I'm running a couple workshops. Like, would you mind? I need a model. Would you mind? Because I feel like you'd be fun to draw." And I'm like, "Yeah, cool."
Did you guys work out what the poses were ahead of time?
No, she
Okay,
That's okay.
Did you work it out before the class started?
no,
Because okay,
but that's fine.
So
But
what
it's
would
fine. It
happen-
worked out.
She had some posters up
Yes.
with some basic anatomy
Mhm.
and like some like skeletal sizing and whatnot. And while like Brett was getting comfortable, she was kind of explaining like how to figure out center lines and like usually where the structures of the face falls, like, and I believe Brett would pitch in some knowledge about like where the ears meet the eyes and jaw lines and whatnot.
Michelle did a good job of breaking down the anatomy and how to like face the like how to like most people who draw like traditionally break down the body. Like it's normally 7.5 to 8 head lengths tall. So if you like whatever size of the head, you just multiply that by 7.5 by 8, and that's normally how tall one is. And she used a lot of other tips and tricks. I would normally do stuff where it's like if you want to, I kind of like gave a lot of cheats where it's like, well, if you just if you make the circle, you divide it into thirds. The top third is your eye line, and that leads up to your ear, and then and then the bottom of your ear follows across the side for the. I'm getting way too weird, but like
You helped Art.
Yeah, exactly. Like Michelle did a great job of hosting the drawing salon, and I got to help out on as well.
Between different poses, she would recommend like how to lay this one out, and usually one I believe was like start with like your almost like a stick figure to get your shapes right, and then the next one was like use your shapes and angles. It's like use your ovals and rectangles to do the whatnot. Because so the thing that got me was like she would just say a phrase, and then Brett would hit a pose. And I'm like, what? How does he know what this was going to be? That's why I was thinking, like, did they work this out? Because one was like the man in factory or something like that. Or
The engineer.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so like Brett hits his pose, and I was like, oh, he's about to turn a giant crank or something. He's like got a giant lever he's like forcing, and I could see it there, even though it wasn't there.
She didn't. Well, it was one of those things where she had said it, and then she kind of like when I would look to her like I think because we did those 4 things we did twice. We did one for there was like a minute pose, and then we did like the 5-minute poses, and there were kind of I did like variations on one for the between the 2 rounds. But the first round she would say them, and then she would kind of give me like an idea. But she would describe it as well, where I'd be like, oh, okay, so that's what this looks like. And then I would kind of make my own decisions and stuff.
This one's the mad scientist.
It's
a mad scientist.
The most popular one, I think, was the dandy. The gentleman. The dandy.
There's some cheering for that one.
Yeah. Also the mad scientist. Mad scientist was a big hit. Yeah. Because I'm very, apparently I animate very well. So, yay. To that.
And I liked watching how everyone holds their pencils.
Yeah.
Because
it was
a room full of people all like doing the same thing but doing it different ways. And then I was like, Michelle, look at this. And I brought up a video. I was like, look at Eric Larson drawing. Look at how he holds his pencil.
So good.
It's very. I was very relaxed watching that. After driving multiple hours in the car, it was nice to be able to sit down. I like watching people draw. Yeah, I could do that for a while.
Totally.
And she has a very soothing voice too.
It was a very relaxing and positive lesson salon, whatever you want to call it. It was great.
For me personally, like I I would like because of my work schedule and the way I go, the way I do stuff. Like I really like doing those like communal drawing things because most artists you just draw by yourself, you know, wherever you are. So like to be able to experience that in a group is so much fun, and I was so thrilled that Michelle presented that and got to do that. So and Michelle ran another one on Saturday. Thank you, Saturday. But with light and shadow, so it was just really cool. So I think me and her might bounce a couple ideas off each other and maybe reprise it for another event in the future. So because it was a lot of fun. And we like helping other artists and talking about art. So that was awesome. Yeah.
It was.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite things gets to be artsy at the fairsy.
There you go. I mean, how can you beat it?
Can't.
Let's talk about Saturday.
Heck yeah.
The longest day. Wake up at like 8 a.m. I fell asleep pretty much right on the dot at 3 a.m. On Sunday morning. So it's a long day.
Yeah.
Saturday is a very, very long day.
Yeah, it was.
Yep. But it was also beneficial to us in a way as well, because sadly we were in the Overflow Hotel. You know,
on Friday we spent over in the Overflow Hotel.
But when we got there, and they're like, "Hey, the Radisson has open rooms," and we're like, "Okay, so we already have a hotel room for tonight. Let's check for tomorrow." And we were able to book a hotel at the Radisson. It was heaven. Yeah, heaven. It was just beautiful.
Overlooking the parking lot, just like the year prior. So
we were like one floor up and 2 rooms over from last year. It was beautiful.
We upgraded.
There's often a painful, confusing mess trying to book rooms.
I can't begin to tell you.
And this past year was bad. It was just bad because apparently some people had booked way more rooms than they needed and didn't leave any for anyone else. So anyone who was trying to book couldn't get them.
Yep.
And then they just wouldn't use all of them when the time came.
Yeah.
So that means they had open rooms the day of the event. It's very frustrating.
Yep, to say the least.
Yeah, I can't even. I've never been felt. I was never so simultaneously happy and enraged all at once when we walked in, and then you pointed at the sign, and I was like, oh man,
that's why I was dealing with them talking to them.
Yeah, so
yep, Alex spearheaded that one, so it was pretty great.
Which thank you for that.
On Saturday, being able to be like, hey, I'm going to go up to the room and sit down for a minute, which I think led to being able to stay up until 3 a.m.
Yeah,
because typically, especially now having like a 9-to-5 job, staying up late is not a thing for me anymore. Last night I was in bed at 8:57.
Wow,
which for me, I mean, I was up, of course, playing Mario Kart on my Nintendo Switch.
You're gonna have to
just laying there in bed playing Mario Kart. It was pretty great.
Game.
Yeah, it's pretty great. My wife bought it for me.
I'm gonna have to have you explain to me what that feels like to go to bed at 8:30 at night because it sounds glorious.
It's pretty surreal. Like, right now, I'm thinking about bed. I'm pretty excited for bedtime.
Nice.
So we started Saturday.
Yes, sorry.
Steampunk World's Fair.
Right. Sorry.
Saturday, bright and early. We had a whole busy schedule that day.
We went to go check out a panel. There was a VIP panel with we're such big fans of Emperor Norton's playing music. We wanted to hear them talk about their stuff.
Yeah. We've only seen them perform. We got to interview them a couple years ago, our first year. We talked with a bunch of members of them. They were very, very kind and let us bother them during like a meet and greet thing, which kind of initially solidified my deep respect and admiration for the band. I was like, you guys were cool. You let us talk to you and record it. But yeah, they were doing like a guest of honor panel.
Yeah.
And Emperor Norton was a guest of honor this year, along with Gail Carriger, who is a well-respected author.
Yep.
I remember putting her books out when I used to work at Barnes & Noble, and never read them, but I do remember seeing them all the time.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, she what did she coin it? Was it the Steampunk-averse? Was it the Parasol Paraverse or whatever it's called? Yeah. So
cool. Her parasol stories, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So it was a panel moderated by Jeff Mack himself, who puts on the World's Fair, and Glimmer Dark, which Brett came on and told us about a while back, and who also joined us on the show a couple years ago in anticipation of World's Fair. He was moderating the panel, asking some questions, and we got to hear some members of Emperor Norton and Gail Carriger talk about what it's like to be talented.
Chuck, who's the leader of Norton's, and then some other members would tag out, I guess. They would kind of switch up depending on if they had an answer to a question that was asked. I was taking some notes. One of my favorite things about this, because everyone was being treated as artists, whether Norton's performs art as music and Gail writes art, because writing is still like an art form.
Absolutely.
The thing that was addressed was how artists who are currently in college should also invest in business classes.
Yeah.
Because you end up being your own manager, your own agent, while being the talent. And so learning how to market yourself is really effective in this day and age. Because the internet, social media, everything gives you so many open tools. You should really learn how to use them. And so that's a thing I feel like a lot of people kind of forget or gloss over, whether it comes down to negotiating skills or, figuring out budgeting your costs for producing whatever it is you're going to produce.
There's nothing more terrifying than because a lot of people are just like, no, I just want to, if I just make my work and it'll sell itself, which, if it's really, really good, that's true. But you also don't want to make something that gets super popular and then you go, I have no idea how to manage
what
this.
do I do?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to contact someone real soon and they better be trustworthy.
Even pricing something, I'll $25, but it really costs $75 worth of your time, making sure that you get your investment back. And enough so you can live off of it.
That's why the school I went to, I wanted to take business courses, but I was unable to because I was not a business major.
Love it.
Really?
Beautiful.
That was a bum out.
Good old college. Am I right, fellas?
It's like when you got to go to another college, I guess. But
but
at some point,
great advice from Gail.
Yeah.
Long story short on that for me.
You don't want to get there and be like, how do marketing work? How does iMarkets?
Yeah.
And then Gail had kind of a jokey comment of if there's anything she could avoid, it's any more Steampunk 101 panels. It was like a dear God, if I ever have to do a Steampunk 101 panel again, I'm going to shoot myself.
What is steampunk?
Which was funny because then Jeff was leans to the back. He's like, hey, can we cancel Gail's Steampunk 101?
She is definitely someone I wish I was able to have met in person. I follow her on Instagram, and she seems to be a wonderful person. I'm like every Jeff Mack event, you got your regrets of who you wish you could have seen because it's always longer than what you have seen because it's a Jeff Mack event. But she seemed like good people. I wish I could have spoken to her.
Yeah, I feel she was a lucky grab. Lucky pick for the show because she was educational but also still entertaining.
Good.
Sometimes it's tough to find a writer who's entertaining to talk to or to speak with, and now she was definitely that.
Nice.
And then a little whiles later, Tom Williford showed up, I guess.
Yep.
Panel
continued, asked some more questions, and then
there was one point where Jeff asked if the room could quiet down a bit in the back. But that's what you get when you put a vendor in a performance room.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Because, weather happened. So Cain's and Abel had to go somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's Cain's and Abel.
Right.
They've got some nice stuff. They've got some expensive stuff. And they're all salesmen.
Yeah.
And so it's not just Mark Donnelly. It's Mark Donnelly and Alex, and I don't recall the name of his other helpers, but
they're all good.
At some point, they're having a good time. So you just got to expect that they're not going to get rowdy, but they might have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but don't be surprised if that doesn't work out.
It was informative, and then they had to wrap up because Emperor Norton was going to be playing on that very stage within 45 minutes or something like that. And they still had to sound check and set up because there's a table with chairs and microphones when you can't really have that in the way when there's 9 to 12 people.
I didn't get everyone's name. I believe the tuba player was up to talk with next to Chuck for Norton's when they were switching out.
Right.
The trumpet, no, the clarinet player. I believe was another one. And then Mr. Squirrel was there, who's the little guy who wears the fez.
Mm-hmm.
And he's walking up, and I nudged Jared. I was like, yo, I dig this guy. And Jared's like, huh? Because I hadn't seen him in the band until Steampunk Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I feel like he was kind of a newish addition from the years that they weren't at Steampunk World's Fair. And,
Dude's got swagger. He switches it on when they're because I don't recall having seen him in the past either.
Right.
And like he was
The earliest.
He's
I've
very
seen
well
him.
spoken, just talking about creating art and things like that.
Mhm,
And then
mhm.
when they hit the stage, that dude was owning it. He was like taking over that. It was great.
His voice is really good for what he was doing
Mhm.
too.
Yep.
I will
It
never
was nice.
forget. I like to wave it. Like it'll forever. I will carry that with me forever. It's so good.
But, I don't know if I want to talk about that now or when we get to it later.
We'll get to it later.
Okay, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Jeff referenced, if you look up Steampunk on Google, some of the things you'll find, like what is it, or just Steampunk in general, depending on what site you go to. A
Mhm.
quote, one of the earliest quotes that show up will explain, Steampunk is Victorian costume drama meets Hot Topic. To which, part of the audience groaned.
Yeah.
Like, ew. And Gail, raised her hand and was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but it's kind of true. Because she's, someone asked, what was the influence to get into steampunk? And she was like, Victorian costume dramas. On BBC, people.
Downton Abbey and all that?
Yeah, well
kind
before
of,
that.
yeah, way before
More
that, sorry.
BBC than.
right.
You
Yeah,
know?
because Downton Abbey isn't right. It's not.
That's
I'm not
more
even
current, I guess.
Yeah, it's
I've
not
never
even the
watched
same.
it, but
It's not even the same network. I'm just. This is
But-
the first thing that popped into my head.
Yeah, but she had referenced that, and Jeff was able to pull that right out of his head, he, knew that quote was in there.
Oh sure.
So that was neat, but she understood. She's like, "I'm sorry." Still stands though.
Hey.
After that, we checked out Scott Helland was playing in the courtyard, and that's a weird time because it's still morning. Not everyone's woken up yet, or they're still hungover. They're eating food or whatever. There's about 40 people there. At the same time, I believe, as Cordelia was doing some classes, her lessons,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Where she shows people who were at the fair, if they want to learn how to do some silks and some aerials, she has a mini routine for them to learn and figure out.
And she teaches it move by move, which is really neat. It's okay, so we're going to do this. Now we're going to take that move and we're going to expand upon it. It's not here's one move, okay, cool. Here's another move, okay. It's you're working on, and then it's by the end of it, you have a mini routine that you work through, and it's really neat. I dig watching that.
It was also really positive, and it's encouraging because people of any shape and size could do it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not too weak, and you're not, it was very positive.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yep.
And watching people's faces when they would accomplish it, it's oh, I can do this.
When they hit the move.
It was nice.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, you can kill it. We watched kind of a blacksmith demo.
No way.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
Oh okay.
Because the table the guy had, he had a beveled table to dump a bunch of coal into.
Okay.
But I couldn't really tell what he had for
It
a
looked
heater.
like a broken fire pit.
Yeah, the fire pit was leaning
Yeah.
over on a metal pail bucket.
All right.
It's it wasn't really level or
Oh.
flat. Yeah, and so it was trying to heat up a big old wrench that he had. They picks up at flea markets or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he turns those into axes or swords or whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so he just takes a regular wrench and just heats it up and hammers the shit out of it.
Yeah.
So I had an anvil in there and everything, but it's a tough thing to do in front of a crowd. It's all right, well, you're gonna watch me hold this thing in fire for a while until it's ready for me to hit it with a hammer. So, any questions? But if you want to hang out and watch someone, work their craft, that was a neat thing to do.
Yeah, I would be all over that. I can't believe I didn't realize that
Yeah.
happened.
Well, it was off and around the corner,
Oh.
kind of behind the pool.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then around that time, I wanted to check out Halo Called Fred.
Yep.
But they couldn't really play because they were filming an episode of Cake Boss.
Yep.
Yes, they were.
And while it might be good for the show to get TV exposure of hey, here's our event, and sorry, you can't enter, but the pretty people can enter.
Yeah, that was the first time I've ever been doormanned You know, like, oh, this area's off limits.
Oh, you're wearing a T-shirt.
Is it off limits to me, or is it off limits to everyone? Because there's a lot of people in there.
Well, when the
But
doorman,
I was not dressed up. I was in my opinions may vary swagger tee with my camera.
Mm-hmm.
I get it, but it was still demoralizing. It was a bummer.
The direct term that I remember, he goes, "Well, maybe you can get some better luck on the other side of the room." I was like, "Wow,
you
okay."
can take pictures over there, and I was like, my interest has completely faded, and I want to be as far away from this as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to hear the band play, and the band that was supposed to be playing on the stage 50 feet away couldn't play because they were filming a television show 50 feet away. So it was kind of like, okay, I guess we're just going to do an acoustic set with no instruments. It was kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
You know, speaking from, you know, that band is trying to play their music and entertain people and possibly sell some CDs or some merchandise.
Yeah.
You know, the first time I ever heard The Folks Below,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, cool, that's rad. I'm going to buy their CD the second they finish playing.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like, whereas it's like, you know, I kind of heard a little bit of one of their songs, and they felt a little uncomfortable, and they're kind of just like, okay, I guess we'll just play that. You know, I'm not going to be motivated to be like, wow, I need to, you know, it was kind of a bummer.
I hope that the show gets the exposure, you know, out of Cake Boss. You know, I hope it's.
I hope he made a real good cake.
You know, the next thing in my notes isn't going to lend much positive credence to that.
Well, the Steampunk World's Fair typically, like for the last couple of years, they've been popping up on shows all over the place, depending on what it is. Especially when, you know, Thomas delivered the gigantic robot that appeared on a TV show, which I can't remember the name of it, but it's like shipping wars or something like that. Whereas like a bunch of guys just had to drop off, you know, pick up the robot from Thomas Rutherford's place and bring it to Steampunk World's Fair. And then even the year before that, there was a talk show host who. I can't remember. They did a whole segment about Steampunk World's Fair.
Yeah.
A bunch of comedians showed up.
Beat Down Boogie, the videos they shot have hundreds of thousands of views, I believe.
Come on, then, John.
Was it?
Come on, then, John.
Yes. Yeah, that's the one.
Was that him?
Yeah. And like that's like a late night TV show. Like they showed up and they did a couple, you know, joke segments for the show, and that went over okay. You know, like some people really liked it, some people. You know, some people didn't. So
there could have been a better area to do it in, so the performers could still perform.
Yeah.
But,
What are you gonna do?
And at that point, I was like, do I even want to see this cake? Is it that important to me right now? No. There's people I could go see.
I understand why, but at the same time, but it's a bummer when it's at the detriment of, you know, the show and the people participating, for sure.
Which leads me into, we wandered a little bit. And we found a panel. And it was the cast of the show Steampunked.
Oh, yeah, I followed Brett. I latched onto him because Brett hauled ass. And I was like, where is Brett going? And I just followed him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought we met him in there.
Well, like, he got ahead of me, and I was like, I think I know where he's going. But I remember watching him, like, we were like, kind of just been like, after getting shunned by Cake Boss, we were kind of just like, what now? And then Brett literally just kind of like turned and walked. And I was like, Brett has plan.
Yeah.
So we watched Tom, who was one of the judges on the show, Tom Williford, who was one of the judges on Steampunked, and then I believe it was 6 of the contestants.
6 or 7.
3 and 3.
Yeah,
I think it was 3 and 3.
It was if I can write them up, it was Charles Talus, Carrie Ann, James Nathanery, Tobias, and Talus. Did I say Talus already? I probably did. That's about right, though.
I understand that Morgan wasn't there because apparently everyone hated her.
According to everyone on the panel, everyone did hate her.
Yeah,
including
Steampunk Eddie from the show was also in tow. He just was not at that panel.
And
he's the one who won that season of Steampunked. Yeah,
but Steampunked, which I believe was on Netflix, is it currently still? I cannot remember.
I think so.
It was a show, kind of like is like Project Runway meets Steampunk.
Yeah.
Create stuff, and you're gonna get whittled down, and there's gonna be a winner. You know, it's one of those like Next Top Model.
Face Off.
What was the tattoo one?
Ink Master.
Ink Master.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, yeah,
all those shows, but steampunk.
But with
stuff.
steampunk creators.
Yep, and like the overall arch was that the entire cast had to develop their own ideal steampunk house. So every episode, you had to design a room in the house, and then at the end of the episode, all the makers would divide up into 2 teams, and then they would compete and make the room how they wanted. There'd be certain parameters, so it'd be like, today we're going to make the kitchen, and you had to design your own version of a kitchen, and then you have to make it with this specific aesthetic, and then have like a character and a costume, and do the whole steampunk creative process to it, and then everybody pitches in, and then the winner gets their room in the house, and then the loser is on, somebody's on the chopping block, they get sent home, that type of deal. Yeah.
Which, the way Brett's explaining it sounds really simple, but to hear everyone talk about it on the panel was not that simple.
Yeah,
because it's one of those things where, all right, so what it sounded like from what I heard was that no one really enjoyed doing it. A bunch of them wanted to quit out of the show.
right.
But lawyers wouldn't let them because contracts, like you would be held financially at stake, is the best way I could put it, because you would have ruined the show. And, yeah, there's a lot of people who just had a lot of bad things to say about the experience.
Yeah.
Some of them were saying like, "Well, it got me on TV, so it was a good experience." Well, I met a couple people, and that was a good experience.
They're doing panels at shows.
Yeah. It's like
I don't know if that
there.
typically makes up for the misery that they may have experienced during the show, but it definitely seemed like.
I wanted to see the show because I was one of those the show the panel in a lot of ways, like it hurt my soul a little bit, and I don't mean that in necessarily like a bad way or a vicious way. It's just I actually ended up having some artwork on that show, which was I was very surprised about. I didn't know, and I was, and I really, it's kind of difficult how to phrase it, because that show in particular was, a lot of people really excited in the steampunk community was really excited when the show was like, they were announced and they were filming it. And then when the show came out, it caused a lot of drama, and not necessarily in a good way. Like, a lot of people reacted to it, and a lot of people were expecting the show to be a specific way. And when it wasn't, a lot of people were upset about it. And, and obviously as that goes, you get a lot of conflicting frustrations. And after,
so for a long time, the genre has gotten like a 5-minute sketch or a small segment on another airing of something else, whether it's on Cake Boss or on another news channel. They get a small piece of airtime. Whereas now it's like, hey, you get an entire show to be a part of and to explain what you are.
Yeah.
But as we've talked to Ty Swanson in the past, who does sideshow performances, he has a really deep understanding of like what TV is, and what producers are going to do, and what are expected to get ratings. Yeah. So it wasn't a show about steampunk art form and making things. It was a show that was manufactured by producers. It was designed to drive people crazy and create what a producer thinks will be entertaining to put on TV.
Yeah, exactly.
To try and sell airtime.
I mean, and I'm not going to pretend like I know everything about it, but what the thing why I said that it kind of hurt my soul a little bit is because going through that, because I watched the show and I really enjoyed it, and I did, of course. Like, I was one of the people that, like, I wish it was done differently, but, whatever, woulda, coulda, shoulda, whatever. It is the way it is, and I want to support the people that were involved in it. And I like the people that were involved in it, at least the people that I saw at the panel. Like, you could see that they were very creative. They're individually, if you take a look at their work, they all make really cool stuff. They all are really cool people. So it kind of hurt me to just see, like, hey, we're a bunch of creative people, and this is what happened when we tried to show our work to everybody. We just got screwed with, and and that hurt my insides really badly. Like, whether because I don't want to go through the entire cast specifically, but I follow Talus, I follow Charles, I follow James, I follow Tobias. They all make really good stuff. They all are really generally really cool people. They're people I wish I could have spoken to more throughout the weekend. But, just to see that to see what the potential of what it could have been, and then to see what it was, made a lot of people sad. Which is why a lot of the questions were definitely. My favorite question was like, if you could do it again, like what would you do?
Yeah.
That would make it different. And I'd be like, yeah, that'd be awesome because because people like steampunk because of the artists, and if the artists are happy, they tend to make pretty good work. But when you make a show surrounding torturing those people and then expecting them to make good work, and then if it doesn't match what you're looking for, then you kind of can't be surprised, yeah.
So seeing them in person, like they were all pretty supportive of each other.
Oh gosh, yeah.
They look like they get along.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched this show yet, but from what I
It's
heard,
worth a
like
watch.
they were kind of like pitting them against each other.
Oh yeah.
Which all shows do, because that's what drama makes ratings.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was kind of neat having the judge of the show on the panel with the contestants.
Yes.
Because they were able to, reveal a few things that either of them didn't know. So
Yeah.
when Tom
Oh my gosh, yeah.
when Tom says something like, all they told us was that so-and-so made this thing, when that wasn't someone else made, thing A. And he's like, we had no idea. Until he found out, like, after the show was already done filming.
Yeah, that was crazy when he said that, man.
And so, like, for so much that either the contestants were told, the judges weren't told, or, like, just things that, and even, like, as they were making stuff, like, the judges don't get to watch the entire process of how they're making whatever, and don't even get to see them doing it. And then, like, they were saying, like, some of the contestants were just flat out breaking rules and weren't getting removed and kicked off.
Well, it's fascinating hearing them talk about that, because the old kind of like trope that you hear. It's like, oh, all reality TV is just super scripted. That didn't sound like it was scripted at all. It just sounded like it was like a ridiculous like mind game, like prolonged over the course of like however long the show was recorded.
Well,
which
even with some,
that doesn't sound like fun to me. That doesn't sound like something I would,
the parts that were scripted, at some point still weren't.
Yeah.
Because Tom was like, yeah, I had an earpiece in the entire time, and they tried to tell me what to say. I'd be like, I'm not saying that.
I'm like, yeah,
and
you
so,
go.
Like, so
yeah,
Tom
Thomas,
is sitting
you do
like,
it.
like either at the judges panel or whatever, and like he's like on TV. It's like there's background music and there's ambient like sounds and everything, and he's like, we're all just standing there in silence.
Yeah.
For real, we're standing there and it just silence. And then someone will be like, hey, Tom, why don't you, say buppada? And he's like, I'm not even saying that. And the contestants are like, who is he talking to? He's talking to himself.
Yeah. I don't want to dwell on it too much. But that was something that I wanted to see because, and also I was, I do respect the people that they had on the show. I did watch the show. I was vested into it. Was I completely happy with how the show came out? No, but I mean, I still appreciate the artists and the work they put into it, and the work that was put into it, and what they did do, despite the apparent horror that they had dragged themselves through to get there. So,
but
I wanted to support them.
It's another example that oftentimes TV producers are snakes.
Yeah.
They're kind of scummy.
I also wanted to kind of walk up to a couple of the guys and just be like, I'm sorry you had to look at my stupid pic. They probably associate my drawings with like horrible like pain now. And it's like, yeah, whenever I see the subhuman man from Steampunk World's Fair, all I can think of is how miserable I was. No. But I'm just teasing.
Way to go, Brett.
I know. It's all my fault.
You've caused nightmares for him.
But no, that's why I wanted to see them. Because,
right.
There was easily at least 70 people in that room, which was a full room. They were standing.
Yeah.
We were standing. A lot of people were standing to go to check it out. No mics though. So anyone in the front asked a question, people in the back couldn't hear it.
Yeah.
But most of the panel was able to speak up and say a few things. Unless they talked over each other, it was tough to catch sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's enough mics in the rest of the show, the rest of the event. Briefly after that, I ran into a room real quick without you guys. Because there is a new element that I haven't seen before.
What's that?
BJD. Ball jointed dolls.
Oh, what?
Yeah, there was like a person giving talks on the scary porcelain dolls.
Huh.
and they were addressing like old myths about them and how they're made and some collectors and ways to collect them. Do you get just one? Do you get dozens of them? And so collect the comics and whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own way of doing it. And there was like a setup of at least 40 on this table that this lady had out. And so there's a panel on like these old fashioned dolls. And there was about 20 people in there. That was kind of neat. I recognize the name. She had mentioned Mercedes Lackey uses dolls to pose as characters for her books. And then later on Sunday, I believe, we checked into a different room again. Same people were in there, and they were doing sewing your own doll clothes. And they had patterns that you could kind of like buy off them for like 50 cents or real cheap or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was like another like workshop or salon to sew new clothes for these dolls in case you wanted to customize them, or like, because for whatever reasons. But
No, I mean, that sounds amazing,
but,
man.
you know, but I mean, like, I'm gonna, you know, work hard to like make my own frames for my art, for my comic books or whatever. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna like choose my matting, my background. I imagine if you're collecting something else, why wouldn't you want to customize it? Someone's gonna knit a sweater for the dog. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But that's a new element that I haven't seen before, and there was definitely an audience there for it. So
Good.
So that was kind of neat.
Yeah, I'm actually bummed I didn't see that. Man, that sounds awesome.
Oh yeah, I took off. We'd be in a group, and I'd be like, "I'll be right back, guys." And I would leave without you on purpose.
That's fine.
But yeah, that was kind of neat.
Cool. Jealous.
What's next? We tried to check out. Oh, did we want to go back to Prospect? No. Okay.
I'm good. Caught the end of their show on Friday night. It's like electronica, steampunk type music.
Dance music.
Yeah.
Electronic dance
Yeah.
stuff.
They were feeling it. They were having a good time up on the stage.
Where were they from? West, East, Europe. Europe
somewhere in the Europe.
They have I think they have two members that originate from Belarus.
Yes.
Belarus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
sounds
right?
right.
Okay.
That sounds
I hope
correct.
I'm right. If I'm wrong, I apologize.
It was definitely a B.
Yeah. But at least a couple of members, and they came through. And I will say that they might not have had like the largest audience, but the people that were there, like, they were enjoying themselves. They really enjoyed it. So, and we saw them on Friday, so I'm sure they probably, when they played again, they probably had a much
When we saw them,
much
they had a
more
crowd
active
of like
crowd.
20 or 30. But that didn't deter them from performing.
Oh no,
Yeah.
They
went,
were really rocking out.
heck yeah,
You know, they could have had a audience of 1,000,
yeah,
and they were performing the same way.
Yeah.
absolutely, and total respect to that for sure, through and through.
So Saturday, 6:00, we went back to the embassy because I was like, "Who are the Dust Bowl fairies?
Yep.
Let's take a look." And we haven't been to the embassy for a while.
Yeah, right.
It's one of those games of like, we've been in one hotel for too long. Let's see what's happening in the other one.
Yeah.
As we're heading over there, I was like, let's check these guys out. And Jared says, "Who are they?" And I start like reading their description.
Yeah.
And I was like, ethereal gothic folk music with a dark cabaret twist. And like in the middle of that, Jared starts going, steampunk words, steampunk words, steampunk words.
But when you said it, when you would describe it, I was like, man, I like all those things. Yeah, let's check them out for sure.
That's how they get you, Brett.
Wait. I like words, steampunk words specifically.
They had a neat sound.
Yeah.
It definitely had like a mood to it.
Yes.
But you know, we were talking about it before, and every song kind of sounded alike.
Yeah.
It was they had an interesting vibe though, in terms of like what instruments they had.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
Agreed.
there was a bass player, there was a bass drum player who had some cymbals as well. Like there was a large, like just keeping the beat of the song. What else was there? Was there an accordion?
Yeah, lead singer had an accordion,
Yeah.
I believe, yeah.
I can't remember the other instruments they had, but it was definitely, it was different, which is what I dig.
Yeah.
You get so used to seeing, not at World's Fair, but like, bands have, there's a guitar player and there's a bass player and there's a drummer, and that's what you get. You might get some extra stuff, but
it's like when you see like an Irish punk band that isn't Dropkick Murphys or Flogging Molly.
Right.
Whenever you see them, you go, "Oh, this is a Dropkick Murphy song. Oh, this is a Flogging Molly song," and you're like, "Yeah." Like that just popped into my head.
yeah.
You always feel like that. It was like, "Oh, it's a new steampunk band. That means they're going to sound like this." And then when it's something that's unexpected, it's nice and refreshing.
Weeks before the show, I mentioned like, "Oh, Jeff Mock should try and get Bellis Bartok to perform at some point."
Oh yeah.
And Jared's like, "Who's that?" And I go, "They're not Gogo Bordello.
Yep.
They'll come around again later."
Yeah. No, they're good.
What do we do next? consult the notes.
Midway, French of the Punk went on at 8.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Easily about
So good.
200 people.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And what's been happening recently is Scott's been doing more like solo like guitar acts.
Yeah.
And this was Frenchie's only like performance where she would sing and do French of the Punk.
Yeah, we had the duo.
Mm-hmm.
But it was great.
So
It
good.
was
We missed them.
easily I've seen French in the Punk, I believe, more times than I've ever seen any band. World's Fair helps out with that because, in the past they've played at least once a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, hey, French in the Punk again. We saw him at Brass Ring. We saw him at Six Flags at one random time.
Yep.
We've seen French in the Punk a lot. Big fans of French in the Punk.
Mm-hmm.
This show that they did specifically on Saturday night, their only show as a duo, was easily the best set I've ever seen them play ever. It was hands down the best. That they were tight. They were like so solid. Even when Frenchie went into the wrong song, and started doing I don't know the name of that dance where you cross your hands over your knees.
Oh,
But,
right. Yeah.
They played a lot of music that I've never heard them play live before. They've
Mm-hmm.
played a couple songs that I've definitely heard in the past, including Brett's least favorite, Dark Carnival. Is that what it's called? That song that you hate?
Oh,
Just
yeah,
kidding,
that
Brett
one.
loves that
Yeah,
song.
yeah. That's only my favorite song.
I think Mi
I
Tame
love that
Vas,
song.
however that goes.
I don't even know.
Mi Tame Vas.
You're not speaking English.
Yeah.
That's the
You're
name of
speaking
one of the
French or
songs.
something.
Yeah. No, they played that. Yeah.
It was
But it's
fantastic.
true.
They had a new drumming routine.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh my god, it blew my mind. They were so solid.
They're so on point.
It was. I can't say it enough. They were firing on all cylinders. I hate that expression, but they were rock solid. It was the best show from Frenchie the Punk that I've ever seen.
At
It was
one
so
point,
good.
even with Frenchie's mic cut out,
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
and
During the first song,
it was really early. Yeah, and she just kept singing.
you just keep going.
And,
Scott keeps going, sings his parts.
Well, he doesn't normally sing during any of that.
Sometimes he
Well,
does.
some of it,
Yeah.
But he was singing in to fill in where she wasn't. Until they finished the song, because then she had to plug her mic back in, because she was while she was dancing, she kind of kicked the cable
so hard. So good.
So it's it wasn't anyone else's fault. She just kicked something and had to plug it back in. But I feel with the time of day, again throwing it back to Circa 6, there may have been some stuff that they couldn't really load up fully due to the weather on Friday, and they were just letting it all out on Saturday. Because I feel all the sound was great, the lights were looking good, everything was like coming across really well.
Yeah,
It was one of those perfect timings where like the show started when it was like dusk, so still some daylight.
Sure,
But by the time the show ended, it was dark and like the lights were going. It was a great show.
Oh my gosh!
I was trying to move around to get some good angles, and while I was doing that, I was watching Emperor Norton's and Egress carry their instruments over and get set up behind the stage, and the violin player and Chuck were watching the stage a bit, they were kind of talking, and she was saying it's kind of cold. It's gonna be uncomfortable. And Chuck's we won't feel a thing once we get up there. It's fine. But
true.
just watching them prepare themselves and warm up and get ready to
Totally.
put on that show.
I can't even imagine.
It was getting kind of chilly.
Just dabbling in guitar myself, playing in cold weather. That sucks. If your hands are cold. I mean, I imagine they warm up quick, but still. It was cold that night. It was definitely. I went back to the room and put on multiple layers in anticipation of the Egress Emperor Norton bonanza that was coming. Because after Frenchie was Egress's show, and then it was going to be Egress with Emperor Norton, and it was it was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
I think
it was called "This Way to the Emperor Norton's Stationary Marching Band Egress."
What was neat about that was that it was. The return for Dorns to get on the big stage, because they had the indoor show at the embassy stage, but then they got to be on the big one again, and I feel to make up for it not being Steam Powered Giraffe, they combined these two bands to make a super band, and that was going to be the main event.
Yeah. They played together before, but I'm glad that they did it. I'm glad they did it this way. I mean, it's so good.
How long was that? That was 2 or 3 hours.
It was supposed to start at 9:30, I believe, but they started around 10. I think because like all the mics and everything.
They had like 30 cables to
exactly.
to
they had to do sound checks for each instrument. It was a beast, but they got through it pretty quick. I think they started around 10. They ended at midnight. They had a hard stop at midnight, and like 2 songs in, already a noise complaint. Cops show up. Yeah. They had to cut the bass, which kind of sucked because like the bass was definitely kicking. You could feel it. You mentioned, you could feel it in your chest.
Yeah.
It was, and it started out with just Egress, and then Emperor Norton came on and joined him for a few songs. Then they'd bail, and Egress play a few songs. Then Emperor Norton come on and play some songs, and then it was just kind of back and forth and together. And it was a beautiful 2 hours of both original music, covers, some of the most random covers you'll ever like. Jump in the Line was great.
Yeah.
They did Dare to Be Stupid. They closed the show with Dare to Be Stupid by Weird Al.
So good.
They played.
They covered. We just mentioned Go-Go Bordella because they did Start Wearing Purple.
Wearing Purple, yep.
Which, like, me and Brett had just referenced Start Wearing Purple to JR, and JR's like, I've never heard that song.
I don't know what that is.
And then when they were playing it, I was like, oh, it's Go-Go Bordella. And JR's like, I've never heard of them. Yeah. And it was, I don't know if it was a dick move on my part, but I just go, I know. I could have explained to JR who they are, but, like, it's like, I know, I have an idea of what he listens to, and I have an idea of, like, what we've heard, or, like, what our Pandora channel preference is.
Yeah.
But at some point, we'll try and get you into some go-go.
Yeah, totally, man.
Can I just hear Emperor Norton play it, though?
With the accent, it's pretty good.
Well, when that song started, though, you and I both like did the "oh," like we looked at each other like, it was meant to be, man.
And that was also a point watching Mr. Squirrel do more of his vocals. Because I saw him do some vocal work at Steampunk Springfield. And what was funny was how much of a kick I got to watch Ripley get out of it. Because I don't know, because Ripley's also a violinist for Norton's, and I don't know if she's ever seen him do that. And he was like, he starts doing "I Like to Move It," but I think he goes through like 3 different languages before he settles on one.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Like it's like he's testing out each language, and his voice like just resonates really well.
So good.
He was owning it. Just the whole show, very high energy. Especially, like, I can't even imagine. Like, my hands start to hurt when I play guitar for 5 minutes. I can't imagine being up there for 2 hours, just blasting through these songs. Like, it was brilliant. Like, Egress was fantastic. They've very, very quickly turned into one of my favorite bands. One of the things that I like most look forward to at this show. And I think they're playing in Putnam, Connecticut in a couple months, too.
They are. Yep, and actually, in Emperor Norton's 10th year anniversary is happening in Somerville this Saturday.
Huh.
Yeah,
that's sort of near us.
Saturdays.
Yeah, it's around It's on Watch City in Waltham. Yeah,
we should see if the Somervilleans are going to be there.
That'd be rad.
I wish.
I try to keep crowd count for different events and performances.
Totally.
There is easily between 200 and 300. Like,
they packed the main stage.
A random 100, count off. It seems like a pretty wide margin, but
yeah,
there was a lot of people there.
A lot of
between
people.
French to the Funk and Egress Norton's. How many conga lines were there?
At least 3.
Not so much like an organized conga line, but like people dancing.
Just like running circles.
Yeah,
pretty much, yeah.
Very polite mosh
Dark
circles.
Carnival. Yeah, Dark Carnival dance around the fire, as it were. I hopped onto that one, and then there was at least 2 or 3 more after that for sure.
Yep.
It was a great show. Crowd was really feeling it the entire time, even as midnight approached. And then even then, it's like, all right, we got to end at midnight. We got to be off the stage at midnight, but we'll be out in the car park in like 20 minutes.
Yep.
I don't understand where their energy come from. It's like, hey, you want to audition for Emperor Norton's? Okay, cool. We're going to go run a marathon. If you can survive, you might be able to join the band. Then we're going to see if you play an instrument well.
Yeah. You get to run 5 miles while playing these 18
unbelievable.
Songs.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, carry a sousaphone while, we know you just played a 2-hour show, but we're going to go, it's unbelievable. And you want to see more.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, okay, cool, I'm going to go check that out. Yeah. And like, I was dying. I was fucking tired.
I said this to you guys too in bed. I wanted to make sure I noted it with you then, and I wanted to note it now so that way it was recorded. But the moment of this entire weekend for me was when I was all of us just hanging out. It was, you guys standing right next with me, my girlfriend on the other side of me, Dave and Nichelle, Jocelyn and Hoyle, Brendan and Lydia, and just all the other people that I know in what I would call like my inner circle of the Steampunk associates. Just watching this band and watching them play in the fun, it reminded me exactly the same feeling I felt when we first showed up, and like when we first saw Emperor Norton's, and there was like that joy. Like I felt that. It was really neat, and that was probably the best feeling for the entire weekend for me. So there you go.
That's good.
Yeah,
You should look into the Honk Festival.
oh totally.
Because I forgot when we interviewed years ago, the girl who played the flute for Norton's would organize parts of Honk, and I imagine that's like an all-day street performance playing, music, but like a ton of bands just throughout the streets of
Just nonstop.
wherever the Honk Festival happens to be at the time. Sometimes it's Boston, sometimes it's Texas, I guess, or there's different like regions of it. But they probably get their energy from like also doing the Honk shows. So look into Honk Festival to see more bands play. It's like, and if you imagine like what a marching band is, that's kind of what they're doing. We think we hung out in the Herrick's Hotel room for a bit.
We did.
Before like, essentially occasionally pausing to listen for more music.
Yeah.
And then me and Jar went out to go investigate. They were playing at the carport, which is usually part of their routine. Late at night, they just play without microphones, without amps and whatever. And
They just play whatever.
Yeah.
And they were doing more of their classic tunes there. They were doing like stuff because they know when to do certain songs. When they have power and amps and microphones, they'll do songs for the stages, and they have like a stationary drum set. But when they're going to go down, and do like more of their marchy songs, they have a different set of songs, and they're still great. We got to hang out, walk with them from one hotel to the other.
The march is always great.
Oh gosh, yeah.
During a pause between songs, Chuck like starts pointing at people. Stay or go. Stay or go. Go. 4 votes for go. We're going. It was great. We got to the
way to stay warm.
They were playing, and we were walking with them. We get to the embassy. But security dude was there.
Yep.
And I guess doing his job at 1 in the morning.
Okay.
1:30 in the morning. You need to make sure that the carport was clear. So he was
for any cars to come in at 1:30 in the morning.
So we got over to the embassy. They played one song, realized what was going on. Okay, let's go back.
Let's get away from this guy.
So they hauled us back. Did another march with a different march song. It's not even like they play the same march song. They have multiple march songs.
They can probably march any song over there.
It's just brilliant. It's absolutely it's amazing. And went back to the Radisson, watched them perform again, and then once. My time limit was 2. I was like, okay, it's 2:00 in the morning. I gotta go back up to the room. I was falling asleep, and like they kept playing. I don't even know when they ended, but I passed out. We went back up to the room at 2. Watched the last hour of Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah. When I came down, and that was a little bit after 2, like it was like quarter after, maybe 2:30, something like that, because I don't remember when I came in. But I was like, yeah, because I hung out with the Herricks a little bit, caught up with them, and just kind of, was friendly.
Good people.
Yeah, and then I walked around. I was like, oh well, I'm here. I might as well just check around. And it was officially. I was like, it's officially too late. Like I was walking around, like, all right, oh well. And I did see Emperor Norton's. Like there were still some people hanging out, but nobody was playing. Everyone was just kind of like winding down, just being,
it's only 3 in the morning.
Yeah,
so.
Whatever,
But
in true form. What ended up happening is that I'm like, oh well, there doesn't seem to be much going on, and I'm really not the one to go knocking on random doors wherever there's noise. Like I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not that much of a social butterfly. So I'm like, well, I'll go back to the room. But of course, as soon as I step onto the elevator, I run into Ray from De La Morte. Of course, got to hang out with him. But then I step on, and then who else but follows me? Professor Mark P. Donnelly. And I'm like, he's like, hey, we missed you. I was like, I'm sorry, I got caught up. He's like, oh, next year. And I was like, yes, sir. Always a pleasure.
Had some classes about writing sword fights,
kicking ass in a kilt.
He did a seminar about fighting with a kilt on, which is like a step from his norm of doing just Bartitsu stuff.
Yep.
To make it a little different or change up his classes. De La Morte still has cool stuff. We get to talk with them a bit. I hope to have them on the show in the future.
Oh, please do.
Because looking at their stuff, You look at it and be like, it's too good. There's too much of it.
I was judging their stuff based on how many shelves I would buy. It's like, I like everything on this shelf, and I like this shelf.
And in the back of my head, I'm like, so who does he import it from? Does he buy it from some shop in China or whatever? No, they have a sculptor. They sculpt it all themselves. That's one of the things I was talking to about.
Yep.
He was telling me like what the items they use to do the sculpting, and I was like, that makes a lot more sense than what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
And like talking even about the difficulty of trying to make some of the things, and like making the molds and pulling out of the molds without like ruining anything. Some items are more difficult to make than others. There's a mug where the handle is a tentacle, and tentacles are wrapping around the mug. It looks awesome. Mm-hmm. There's Christmas ornaments of plague mask doctors and Krampuses and Jersey Devils. The Jersey Devil.
Yeah.
Who makes those? There's a really cool like robotic underwater ship octopus thing. There's a ton of cool stuff. It's not like your generic like, oh, it's a dragon holding a crystal ball. No,
so good.
These are way cooler than that. They're all kind of creepy. They'll disturb your grandmother. There's tentacles that are candle holders. I dig these guys.
Want to disturb your grandmother? I Del Monte.
We've talked about Greenwood. We've talked about Matt Etcha.
Yeah. But no, they were great. I always liked talking to them and hanging out with them too. So
I chatted briefly with Liz, who was running the trinket swap.
Oh, awesome!
Which I feel is a thing that isn't more widely known.
Yeah,
because you see it in the program, and you're like, "Oh, it's neat," but then you pass by it. I wish it came with like a bigger explanation, so more people get involved with it.
I agree.
You make a bunch of somethings, and they're usually kind of meant to be handmade because you're going to swap them with someone else. Brett can draw a bunch of cool stuff. I might make something. Liz had made a bunch of small flowers from a very specific like Japanese style of flowers, like what geishas would wear in their hair. And so you could trade your little trinket thing with someone else's little trinket thing.
Yeah.
And now you have a thing that someone else made with their own hands, but they're not necessarily a vendor. They're not necessarily like a professional that makes these things.
Right.
It's a cool little swap deal.
Totally.
So it was neat talking with her about that. I hope to think ahead next time and bring some of my own.
Me too.
The Herricks encouraged me to go check out, I think it was Bustle Betty's. Because they had, I was complaining about tying a tie, and I can't tie a tie.
Oh.
And they have like a neat thing to wear on your neck. It's like the two ties that are like folded together.
Like a tie made out of ties.
It looks
that you
neat.
don't have to tie.
Or is it Midnight Orchid Design? There was a bunch of cards on the table. I grabbed all the cards.
I think Midnight Orchid.
I think it was Midnight Orchid Design who did the ties.
Yeah, I second that.
But there's a lot of neat vendors there.
There's
a lot of stuff to look at. There was people that just sell kilts. There was the propellers that spin.
Yep.
With like little tiny model airplanes that this guy makes on his own.
Yep.
Do you have some?
Oh yeah. Well, actually, I have a bunch of cards that people just handed to me. Because there was a gentleman by the name who just walked up to me and he was like, "I like your beard, sir. Here's my card." And it was Dr. Irritation. He's a freelance supervillain, Enchanted City, Troy, New York. If I have irritated you, please tell your friends. Very, very clever. He has a nice illustration. Looks exactly like the illustration. Very mad scientist-y with a nice beard of his own.
You told me about it. Showed me the card, and I went in a different direction than I thought I was gonna.
Yeah. Yep. No, it was just it. Really friendly dude. Like, really cool guy. So, hats off to him.
Hopefully kind of irritating.
Yeah. No.
Otherwise, you won't remember.
I know, right? I only saw him that once, but yeah, obviously, and there was actually a beard-oriented room this year at Steampunk World's Fair, I think, to coincide with the beard mustache competition that happened on Sunday. And man,
Dave Herrick was in there, was chatting up those guys. So they're really cool guys.
Yep.
I didn't go in because I was pulling the I don't have a beard to put anything in anymore. I don't need beard products because I don't have a beard.
You have mustache though.
You don't put
in Germany. Beard means everything. All facial hair means beard.
I'm not going to put beard oil in my mustache.
Okay, well, fair enough.
Anyway,
yeah, no, but one of the dudes just walked up and like if I had $1, I would have made my money back on it. If I had $1 for every time someone was like, "Hey, you beard mustache competition," or like, but
hang on.
Yes,
I'm going to go there.
Okay,
Brett,
that's fine.
Congratulations.
What?
This is like the first year where I've seen so many people come up and be like, "You're Brett Kelley. You do our stuff on Instagram.
Oh,
You're artist Brett Kelley." And I saw this happen a bunch of times, more than I've seen in the past.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, shit, yeah, Brett. Yeah, get it."
Well, no, well, I mean, honest to goodness, like the only reason, not the only reason, but one of the reasons is because of the fact that you guys aren't with me when I go to Wicked Fair and Glimmerdark, and as I've gone in the last couple of years, and those are all the people that I'll normally run into, and I have you guys to thank for that, to be perfectly honest. So thank you. And I mean, it's just I get to work it. I consider myself very lucky that I get to make work that people really like, and I get to hang out with people that I can have really nice conversations with. Like it's nice, but at the same time, like I can't even list however many the amount of people that I've seen or introduced me or I just met this weekend that I was really thankful for. And I was going somewhere with this. It's just like it was just really cool. But I also feel bad because my ADD is just high octane. So I'd be like, "Oh, it's really nice to talk to you. Wish I could talk to you more, but I got to."
Yeah.
So it's like I messaged like 8 other people. I'm like, "I'm sorry that I only got to say hi to you once," and then completely ran in the opposite direction. But yeah, it was a good week.
Walking through World's Fair with Brett was essentially like walking through World's Fair with a
with Babs,
with a costume,
It was with
like a very well done cosplayer at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm trying to walk to the embassy with you, Brett, and you keep getting stopped. Can you stop getting stopped by people, please?
Why do some people want to say hi to you? It's like you're a cool guy or something.
Oh, I heard someone walk up to Brett and go, "Are you Brett Kelley?" And Brett goes, "Yeah."
Excuse me.
And then conversation happens.
Yeah. Or
Damn it, Brett.
Sorry. I introduced you guys as often as possible. But no, like, I'm sorry to backtrack. The Real Bearded Men, that was the name of the group, and they got one of their cards and stuff like that. The guys are really cool, really legit. Like, the dudes that run that, pretty heavy duty facial hair. Like, as soon as I saw those guys, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to place in this competition. There's no way. And I didn't. So, so I called it. So, but it's fun. Like, they were really cool dudes. Real Bearded Men. So, pretty easy to track down. But yeah, there you go.
Got to give a shout out to Nicole and Brian of Devil's Darkroom.
Of course.
They brought Helen with them this year.
Heck yeah.
We got to meet Helen.
Yeah.
Taking the tintype pictures, the old-fashioned 100-year-old lens, your pictures on a metal plate. And now,
so good.
Now Brian's doing woodworking, and he's like really fine crafting some
brilliant
frames and little trinket boxes. Such nice people, coolest people.
Yeah.
Always they always make time to talk with us when they don't have to.
Nicole has her own episode
trying
in
to
the past.
run a business. Yes, Nicole joined us a couple years ago, and it was amazing. Been big fans of her ever since year one for us in 2013. They have been very generous to us just as fans and friends.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's always just seeing them once a year. It's still just like, hey, what's up? It's great.
I've been looking forward to see them for months now because like they backed my Kickstarter and like they had backed at the very highest tier that they possibly could have, and I was like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
But they did, and I was happy to get them their artwork. So like it was awesome.
And she related a thing that we've said about past Jeff Mock events, where it's a home for weirdos. You're not going to find that many normal people there. And like years ago, my friend Amber was at Wicked Fair, and she's like, "I'm home. I'm with family," which was people like me for once.
Yeah.
And a thing that Nicole had said when referencing the art that you gave her, she's like, "These are people that I see once a year, and some of them understand me better than my own family does."
Yeah.
And it's like that's who you're going to encounter at these events, and that's really cool.
Totally.
We haven't even talked about other attendees and guests. As you're walking around the show, there's just beauty everywhere.
So good.
There's amazing costumes everywhere you look. Like, I can't even stress so many outfits that you'll see. Have you guys learned how to walk?
What do you mean?
Avoiding someone's train or bustle?
Oh.
I like to think that I've...
I just throw myself out of the way just because I'm not even going to bother.
Yeah.
Like
I know they take precedent over... I'm walking around in my jeans and my sneakers. I'm still that guy where I still tell people every single time I describe the show, it's so rare for me to be in the minority when I'm not dressed up. But I absolutely am. Like 100%. It's like easily it's like for every one of me in plain clothes, there's like 50 people in outfits. You know, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it took me like a couple of times of accidentally stepping on ex-girlfriend's dress in the past to like learn how to walk to avoid, stepping on someone's skirt or train, bustle, whatever. But yeah, most of them are really friendly. You'll just take the time to say, hi, excuse me, can I get a picture? Yeah. Everyone will be happy to show off what they've made, what they own, what they've worked hard on, what they try to look good in. And they all really achieve it. Like the costume contest was insane. So many contestants. I think they actually wrapped it up on time for once.
They did. They wrapped it up right on time, despite the fact that there was a line.
It's a huge line.
So many
line.
People.
Oh my gosh.
But it's just so much fun to look around at all the guests.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, find that Beatdown Boogie video of Steampunk World's Fair.
So it's just really a perfect encapsulation.
Oh, totally.
Micah and Blake did such an amazing job putting that together.
And that's from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And like there's still, and even like some people still have the exact same crisp outfit.
Yeah.
It's not that it's getting old. Like
No.
it looks just as good yesterday as it did 2 years ago.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Without question.
And they also strive to make better outfits and newer stuff and find new things to put together.
Mm-hmm.
It looked people look great. And that's one of the elements of like you're in a fantasy land because everyone's dressing up. We walked back to the room at 2 a.m. and people are still in the lobby in full garb, with their parasols and everything.
Heck yeah.
It is a truly unique show, at least that in regards to shows that we go to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's nothing else like it that I attend, and I'm just talking about it this week. It makes me miss it. I'm already looking forward to next year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, man, and I don't know why. Like, maybe I'm getting too deep or whatever, but like, it's one of those things where it's like when you spend so much time in your day job and you like just the way things are these days. It was really nice to kind of go into a place where you're not checking your phone, you're not getting agitated by stuff every 5 seconds, and you're talking with real people. And the cool thing about the steampunk community is that, and I think it's one of those things that's often overlooked, is that there are people from all walks of life there. Like you have people that are Civil War reenactors, you have people that are stoners, you have people that are ex-military or current serving military people.
Kenpachi Zarachi is definitely a stoner.
Yeah. I've met firefighters in the past. Yeah, all walks of life. So and everyone got to, everyone got to hang out. I didn't see any fights. I didn't see anyone getting into arguments with each other or saying that you're wrong or that your fun is wrong. Like, everyone's just hanging out, just enjoying just being in this alternate dimension that we've created for ourselves.
No one said you're not steampunk.
Yeah. So that, to me, was awesome. And then to come back into the world, I'm glad I took Monday off. Monday was like, A, I needed the sleep, but B, I also was just like, I needed that, like, little bit of a buffer to kind of go back into the regular world.
Ease into it.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Ease out of it.
It is one of the tough ones to really adjust back to real life.
You might learn a few things too.
Oh my gosh,
there's a lot of history there. There's not only are there panels and classes being taught, but like some of the vendors. There's a guy who has like old World War items. And I bought Morpheus glasses from a lady who has like all kinds of like just old trinkets, like old like little like compact cases.
Yeah.
And a shot glass or a flask made of glass, and the tin bottom of it was actually a cup. And I was like, whoa. There was a cup that like expands, like it slides out to be.
I wish I'd seen this.
There was a lot of really cool stuff there.
Yeah.
Lady had a ton of hat pins. I was like, yo, if I ever make my voodoo dolls, I'm going to need hat pins to stab them with.
Right?
Very true.
You can't use like a regular
pin.
I
laughed way too hard on the microphone.
You got to use a pin that looks really cool. So the old-fashioned hat pins are where it's at.
It was...
Not that I put a lot of thought into my voodoo doll.
No,
yet another...
It's adequate. It's the exact amount.
Beautiful show.
Totally.
If we're going to be doing grades, we're only at an hour and 40 minutes, so I imagine we should probably start thinking about grades. I don't recall what I did last year. This year, I think I'd give it. God, it's like right on the line between like a B+ and an A- for me. Like it's right, literally like as far on that line as you can. Like it was a really great show. Friday with the weather again, you can't really fault the show for that.
No,
but just a great time, just a good escape for me.
I'm calculating in my head.
I'll go up. I'll give it a straight up A, like straight A all the way, just because. I mean, I know, or well, A-, I'm sure, like because there were a couple things, but overall, like I was really happy with the experience.
Yeah.
I mean, over like the one thing is that I did spend a lot of my Saturday away from the away from the events because I was being artsy for a little bit.
Right.
But other than that, it was fine. I mean, like, because I did a body painting, and then that body painting went out to the absinthe tasting. So I made an absinthe fairy, and then that absinthe fairy went and hung out with other people who were drinking absinthe in a room. So that was really neat to get to see that, and then to do that. I mean, but it's a body painting, so it was a big chunk of time. So that's why I was up until 3 a.m. I'm like, I have to make up for the lost time. There's more stuff to do. But yeah,
I think I might have to settle if there's something between a B+ and an A-.
That's
cool.
That's where I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not counting the weather.
Mhm.
I believe the event gave us a good, I don't want to call it a placeholder, but for SPWF being like the main event for so many years, giving us the Egress Norton combination definitely took the place well.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I
definitely like,
and I don't mean this as a slight
No.
to Steam Powered Giraffe,
Yeah.
but I didn't miss them.
right.
You know,
Yeah. So like giving those two bands like that outlet to work together and have that performance
it was beautiful.
That was a really positive impact. I'm gonna say things like the random bus that the hotel could
Oh
get.
yeah.
And I feel like just having leftover mattresses behind the pool shed, because like that's where some of the kids events take place. And that's where they stuff. They put the hookah people like out in back away from everyone else this year.
Oh well.
But they also opened up that fence. There was a second way to get back there.
Oh, okay.
That fence wasn't usually open.
Yeah.
I can't believe I didn't. I
So
never
now like
went
that was
near
like
there.
that was a whole way to get like behind that pool area.
Okay.
Which was nice having that like secondary route instead of trying to like duck through. That was a different spot. Never mind. So like, and then some of the schedule being a little funky,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
but what they were able to save with putting the outside busker stage and putting that in the embassy atrium worked out pretty well.
Yep.
Sure.
So things like that. Some of the shuffling ended up better, but there's stuff that could be improved. And I feel like some of that's just at the fault of the hotel, not so much the event or what Jeff had to do to get up and running.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like booking the rooms,
Yeah.
that kind of thing was really had an impact for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. I'm already waiting. I'm waiting for when that goes up for next year.
It's tough to try and like set your own rules with a worldwide company policy.
Yeah.
How do you get them to alter that?
True.
And I briefly I want to give a shout out to Galea. She ran the kids track.
Oh yeah.
Because there was a whole ton of events for kids to do. If you want to bring kids to the event, you could do that, and there's stuff for them to do. I was looking for free ray guns and had to build my own dragon, and I didn't see either of those.
They were
things.
making mischief.
Those were, and because like we saw Galea, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. Galia.
Gilia.
Anyway.
Gila. I'll go with
But like
yours.
we rode the elevator with her at one point.
We did.
And I spotted that she was like teaching origami, and she was organizing the scavenger. I never looked at the scavenger hunt.
Oh man,
Dang.
we helped out with one of the scavenger hunts, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all
that
sang.
was pretty awesome. We sang happy birthday.
But like she had a lot of work to do,
yeah.
and was making activities and fun for the people, and for kids who might get bored. Like, well, I don't want to go look at gear jewelry again.
Yeah, or hear grown-ups talk,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we were in the elevator, and I recognized her as running the kids events, and I was like, "Yo, I was looking for free ray guns, and I didn't find any." And like she starts laughing. She was like, "I ran the mischief making event."
Awesome.
Like I kind of chuckled, like I was leading her to that. I wanted her to take some pride in that.
It's really neat. It's cool if they give the kids like an opportunity to do that, because I can see where like, let's go to Steampunk World's Fair, and like to a kid like, yeah, it's gonna be fun, and then 10 minutes later it's like, I'm bored, I want to go home and play video
Why
games.
am I wearing this?
Yep.
Because it's fun to be from the 1800s, whenever this is.
It was a damn good show. Brett, thank you again for coming with us.
Of course, thanks for having me, as always, you guys. Seriously.
And doing the press thing with us. Big thanks to everyone at Jeff Mack Events for putting on another amazing show and letting us talk about it, and giving us the opportunity yet again. Hope to see everyone there next year. It was an absolute blast.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I
was going to say, if you had the opportunity to check it out, if you're in the area next year, check it out. Just do it. Just go. Just go to the show. So it's fun. What are you going to say?
We'll have picture gallery up soon.
Yep.
And I took a bunch of video, so I'll see if I can
slice it.
If I could make some nice videos for you to view and check out.
Yeah. And
yep.
Yeah. And also, I mean, we always have the wonderful, talented. I'm gonna plug it. Babs, who takes pictures, she's gonna be uploading her photos as well. So
true.
You can
she's
check
already
out
dumped a lot of them.
A machine.
Just like that night, like Sunday night, she's already has like 4 albums uploaded. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But whereas I have like 70 pictures that I've whittled down to, and I'm like, oh, I'll get them up when I get a chance.
And I think I took maybe 20 pictures.
Yeah.
And Babs like, I don't know, 1,000.
I took 20 pictures of one person in one position.
I do not.
And they're all pretty good.
The only photos and video I took, I uploaded to my story on Instagram, so it doesn't even exist anymore.
Exactly. But World's Fair is a great time. Enormous thanks to everyone that we talked with for dealing with us and letting us say, hey, we do this podcast. And they go, oh my God, that's cool, even if it's not cool. Great show.
It's the coolest.
You know what? Do yourself a favor. It's too late now, isn't it?
For what?
We'll put it in the bio.
Okay.
In the description.
Yeah.
If they can, listen to the episode while looking through Babs' pictures.
Yeah.
There's definitely enough content to keep you visually entertained while you listen to us.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. I'm tired. This is a long one.
Yeah.
We had a short one last week, so we made up for it.
Yeah.
Cool.
But Brett, thanks again. You're the man.
No,
love looking at you.
You are.
No.
Yeah.
You this guy.
All three of us.
That's all I got. Us, the gang. Am I right, fellas?
Yeah.
Again, big thanks. Steampunk World's Fair was a blast. Can't wait for next year. So,
absolutely.
Until then, or until next week.
Yeah. And
get back to business.
Mm-hmm.
I have been the one and only. I can tell I'm tired. I'm very tired. I've been JR.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Brett Kelley.
And this has been episode 269 of Opinions May Vary, the Steampunk World's Fair 2017 wrap-up extravaganza.
Mueve.
Exactly. Nice.